Hey there, it's Pastor Adam. Here at The Point, we believe questions are really helpful. And every now and then you text in a question that I just have to pause and stop for a little longer. Sometimes they stump me, and sometimes I'm not quite sure the best response. And then we get point left over. This week, this question came in. You said that Christianity doesn't have value for us without Jesus' resurrection. Isn't there intrinsic value in the ethical behavior that Jesus taught and promoted? When this question came in on Sunday, I had to pause to think about what is it I was wanting to answer. See, specifically, I think the question is asking, if Christianity is only about a set of moral guidelines, isn't that enough? Even if the resurrection didn't happen, and even if it's all made up, and even if none of it's true, if it helps us be a better person, is that good? Well, after thinking about it and spending some time in the Word, I have to say, if Christianity is only a good story to help us be a better person, there is no intrinsic value in it for you or me. And here's why I say that. There are plenty of religions in this world that will help you be a better person. In fact, there are plenty of religions that will probably help you do it more than Christianity. And here's why. The primary thing of Christianity that sets Christianity apart from anything else is a God who would love us enough to come in the flesh and take our place and suffer and die and then rise again. We have a God who gives us grace, a gift we truly do not deserve. And this grace gives us an abundance of forgiveness over and over and over again. And so if the primary goal or the intrinsic good of Christianity is morality, the problem with that is Christianity at its core also intrinsically says it's okay to really screw up a lot, and you will still be loved and forgiven and cared about. And certainly other faiths that have less of a center of grace and a center of forgiveness could be better for a moral standard if that's the intrinsic value. Because these other faiths with less of a center of a God who gives grace, but a God who is exclusively justice, will motivate you to be a little more on your best behavior. As I was reading in Scripture and thinking about this week, 1 Corinthians 15 came to mind, where Paul is writing about some who say the resurrection didn't happen, or even if it did or didn't, it doesn't really matter. What matters is believing in the right things and thinking and living and doing the right stuff. And Paul, he writes and he says, if Jesus did not rise from the dead, my faith is in vain. For Paul, the man who wrote half the New Testament, nothing about Christianity mattered unless Jesus actually rose from the dead. Now, I was also thinking perhaps you weren't going directly for the moral approach, but isn't there some psychological intrinsic value in believing in something that is bigger than yourself? Well, yes. Psychology tells us that when we place our hope in a purpose, the bigger the purpose, the greater that hope changes our life. So if our only purpose is self-fulfillment, you and I aren't a very great purpose. Our lives will be filled with a lot of hurt and hardship, and hope will be difficult to come by. But if our purpose is our neighbors or our community or our country or even some global cause like ending racism, something really good and true, the greater the purpose, the more meaning it has for us. And even with that psychological perspective, I have to ask, is a purpose that is entirely false actually that great? And so I believe that even for the intrinsic value of psychological motivation, if the resurrection did not happen, Christianity is useless because there's something better to believe in that's true. Thankfully, I believe wholeheartedly with everything in me. He is risen. So there's hope for you and hope for me and hope for your neighbor who doesn't yet know this good news. Which leads me to this second question that came in on Sunday. We didn't ask it on Sunday because we had to ask some follow-up questions to really figure out what the person texting in was asking. But here's what they came to say. Can I come to the point and not believe in God? And the answer to that question is absolutely. You don't have to believe like we believe, or act like we act, or think like we think in order to be loved by the God that we love. And so we'll pursue him, and you can come and you can ask your questions, and you can wrestle with your doubts, and you can be filled with confusion, and you may never believe like we believe. Or maybe you'll be surprised. And as you wrestle with questions, you'll realize this God we believe in is big enough to handle them. And he loves you through all of them. Those are your point leftovers. Thanks for watching. See you on Sunday.